Scarlet. Satan in physical form. Scarlet is an extremely overpowered, low skill floor legend. Perhaps the most overpowered, least skill floor legend in all of Brawlhalla. She's utterly ridiculous. And now I have put off making this video for many months because I hate the process of editing videos. I like making the videos, but editing videos is... I don't like it. But nothing really changes. She continues to dominate. I'm just going to say, people with lower skill levels continue to find immense success with Scarlet because she's so ridiculously overpowered. Now, the biggest problem with Scarlet is her stats. She has 8 strength, so it means she hits like a truck. She hits like a fourth pickup truck with a sumo wrestler in it, with rockets equipped. Okay. And she has 5 dex, so she's pretty shifty. She can get where she needs to be, recover quick enough if dex mattered. 5 defense, she can take a few hits, and 4 speed. So she's a bit slow, right? Just a little slow. Well then, nope, Brawlhalla, BMG, they don't know how to make stances, like, for some legends, you want to not, you see the problem, right? So, Scarlet's speed stance takes away from strength. Woo! You can't do that. No. So that gives her 7 strength, 5 dex, 5 defense, and 5 speed. So she hits like a truck, is somewhat tanky, and she can get where she needs to be. BMG, no, like already without even looking at the speed stance, her stats are kind of ridiculous because she hits so hard. But no, with this, BMG, To make a quick analogy showing how ridiculous Scarlet is, think about shooting games, right? You guys play shooting games.
Please don't call Fortnite a shooting game. Like, calling Overwatch a shooting game is kind of makes me uncomfy, but I guess that's fine. But like, short Fortnite is not a shooting game, so please don't call it that!
So, in shooting games, I typically like the gun that has medium to high range with good accuracy and a very high rate of fire. No, there has to be a weakness in place for this gun, or it'd be utterly overpowered, right? You can't have something be good at everything, because that's not balanced, BMG! So, this gun typically is really bad in short distance situations, especially when you have to blind fire, or when someone's right on top of you, because it keeps everything balanced! Meanwhile, Scarlet is the sniper rifle that has the firing rate of an automatic rifle that still does the same amount of damage as a sniper rifle.
This will make more sense later on in the video, I hope. I was about to say I promise, but like, I hope.
So there are 3 hard-hitting legend archetypes in Brawlhalla, and I like to think that any fighting game more or less has these like 3 archetypes when it comes to hard-hitting characters, because it keeps these high damage output characters balanced, because you can't have a legend good at everything.
Oh wait.
So here are the 3 hard-hitting archetypes in Brawlhalla that Scarlet utterly transcends. She just utterly violates these 3 archetypes. You have your glass cannons.
That's where my waifu is. I hate meaning glass cannons. Please end my suffering.
Glass cannons, you got Ada, Jala, and Ember, where you have 6 strength, 4 defense, because
but why would you not do defense stance on these characters? I don't understand.
So 6 strength, 4 defense. Okay, alarm bells ringing. The first alarm bell, huge alarm bell, it's ringing, is that Scarlet does more damage and has more defense than the glass cannons. That would have been really great if I like worded that the other way around. Like, would have worked better for my argument. But Scarlet does more damage. Scarlet does more damage than the glass cannons of Brawlhalla. That's a huge alarm bell like going off right there. More damage, more defense than the glass cannons. Okay. The slow legends, slow, quote unquote, because BMG doesn't understand recovery frames when it's really not that hard of a concept. Like if a legend has low dex, they should have lots of recovery frames after a sig. But yeah, you guys are dumb. The slow legends of Brawlhalla, Zol, and Taros, quote unquote, slow. Scarlet is faster than these legends because she has 5 dex and you can easily get 5 speed while still retaining insane levels of damage output with 7 strength. That's not good, BMG. No, so Scarlet's too fast to be a slow legend. She can get where she needs to be too easily. And then you have legends that are like a combination of the two. They're a step slow. They're kind of squishy at the same time. But they still have that damage output. Like, they're a combination of slow and glass cannons. And that's where Miragi, my third waifu. I mean, like, a man can never have too many waifus. I'm not a sexist. So I know what you're thinking. Well, you might be thinking this. Like, I don't know for sure, maybe. Doesn't Scarlet fit in that combination of the two archetype where she's both a glass cannon and slow, even though she has 5 defense? And Mirage would usually have 4. And yeah. Scarlet, the thing about Scarlet, the huge problem is her stats combined with her weapons. It just spells disaster. It's just, it just doesn't work. So one of the biggest problems of Brawlhalla, besides
Recovery frames.
is that there's lots of hard-hitting weapons that are just too fast. Like Axe, arguably. Axe is, I don't know what to talk about. I'm not gonna talk about Axe right now. That's a whole problem. That's a whole nother debate. Hammer is a weapon with a very high damage output, even though it's actually pretty fast, and it's like, yeah, I don't know what BMG was thinking. But anywho, the thing about Hammer with Scarlet, and with Lance, of course, because, Lance is Lance. Like, if you don't consider Hammer and Lance, like, a little bit overpowered at this point, then you're either main either weapon, or
I don't know what to tell you. It's just the facts.
But, Hammer and Lance, these are 2 weapons that excel at getting hits in raw neutral. And that's not a terrible thing, I understand having a weapon in a game, because you have so many combo weapons, right? Like, guitars, weapons that are super good at, like, just really good in neutral, like Orb. And then, of course, you have Scythe and Gauntlets, which are very read heavy and string heavy. So it makes sense you want to get a weapon that's just about getting hits in raw and neutral. But that doesn't work when you have a weapon like Hammer that has a very high damage output while still being super fast, combined with Scarlet's stats, which makes her with just insane damage output, already combined with Hammer's damage output. It's no. So Scarlet, the thing about Scarlet is you don't have to outplay your opponent. You don't have to, because your stats are good enough where you can take a few hits, while also just having to get a few hits in raw neutral can basically just win you the match. When you have these weapons that excel in raw neutral so well, that's getting straight hits here and there, it can be such a viable playstyle with these weapons, combined with the fact that Scarlet's a little tanky, can get where she needs to be, and has incredible damage output on high damage weapons like Hammer. It doesn't work. It's utterly ridiculous. So the plausible thing to do is give Scarlet terrible sigs, because, Scarlet's weapons already excel at killing in neutral. Like, everything on these weapons is basically just a kill move. Besides, like, Lance downlight, Hammer downlight, and... Actually, Hammer downlight's basically a kill move because it gives you a true combo into a kill move. So basically, the only non-kill move on Hammer is Sidelight, which is utterly ridiculous and racks up damage so fast. But anywho, so the plausible thing to do is, okay, let's give Scarlet terrible signatures. But she actually has some ridiculously good signatures. Hammer down sig, the highest damage dealing signature in the whole game. Yeah, that's the thing. It's fast. It's too fast. Too many hitboxes. And it does the most damage out of anything in the game. I mean, it's just, look at this. Why? Why? Hammer side sig. I don't know why. The offstage properties on hammer side sig. So I don't know. What are you supposed to do against a Scarlet with hammer offstage? So you have to avoid the hammer itself, the steam on the hammer ground pound, the hammer recovery, and a gravity cancel or a slide charge hammer down sig that will literally kill you in dark yellow. What? What? And the hammer end sig is just too fast. I mean, there's no reason. Like, how do you approach hammer? You can't approach Scarlet hammer from above. You can't approach it from the side. You can't hit be stacked with it. What do you do? How do you approach that? And hammer lands. Scarlet lands. The down sig, it's been nerfed, but still, you know, really irritating off stage. I don't know how. What do you do when you're being edge guarded by a Scarlet lance? I mean, you can't be stacked with it. You can't be right in front of it. You can't be above it. You can't be way above it. And Scarlet end sig, that's also... Why? It would be a fine signature if the last few reframes of that end sig hitbox, or the last few hitboxes of that end sig didn't exist. Because you have to go so far away from it, ridiculously far away from it to avoid it because of those last few hitboxes, that it allows for a few, easy reads, or you just couldn't avoid it because it just covers too much. So Scarlet is obviously an overpowered legend. I don't understand how you can really argue that at this point. Between her stats, her having some of the most historically overpowered weapons in the game, and combined with, you don't need to be good at Scarlet. You just need to be able to get a few hits here and there. You don't need to know combos. You don't really need to know reads. You just gotta know, have basic common sense and be somewhat competent in raw neutral. Or, I guess you don't really have to be competent. But let's just say, be nice and say, you have to be somewhat competent in raw neutral, and you'll get wins with Scarlet. So, to finish off this video, here are the facts. Here is, and there's the link in the description below if you want to access this. Here are the facts regarding Scarlet's win rate and play rate. Here's the proof that Scarlet's overpowered. And keep in mind, there are 49, there's 50 now, but let's just say 49 because Jaehyun is relatively new. 49 legends in Brawlhalla. So look at these stats and see how Scarlet fares in Platinum and Diamond in terms of win rate and play rate. And I don't know, BMG, hopefully you guys nerf this legend. At least nerf this thing. If you're going to make a legend with stats this good, with weapons that cater to those stats so well, the least you could do is just give her horrible signatures. I don't think you're going to do that, because BMG really knows what it's doing in anything besides, aesthetic, because BMG, they know everything about balance. They sure know what they're doing in terms of balance. Like and subscribe! Oh, you cool face!